in case, I'm Paula Guerra, I'm from Stanford Central School, and I'm the LTA on the board at the Teacher Center. So what my plan is for people that aren't from Stanford is I'm trying to get a contact person in each school to like say when the LTA stuff is coming out and what we're doing. Because I know I get a email with 120 names, I'm not paying any attention to it. I'll be totally honest with you. So if anybody wants to be just that person that I email and then they can like send my email out with the link and everything, that would be very helpful. Because I mean, Stanford I can get to, South Carolina I can get to, but I can't get to the other. I don't know anyone in any of the other schools, I'll be honest with you.
I'll be my point of contact for Milford.
Oh, okay. So if you want to send me your email so I have it,
Sure.
thanks.
You want me to put
Because
it in the chat?
we had one on both, we had me and another person on the other side of BOCES because I'm on Stanford side. And the person just, after like hours of training, disappeared on me. So I disappeared on Aaron more on me than me. So right now I'm doing both sides. So I would be the person and you want my, and I will put my contact information on.
Okay.
Okay, cell phone and all that fun stuff.
Okay, and that's just for like when we're doing specific things for LTAs you want?
To keep on track, we're doing, I scheduled this for every last Thursday of the month.
Mm-hmm.
And Aaron scheduled his every other thing in his world for every last Thursday of the month. So we'll be running our meetings.
Simultaneously.
Oh no, we're being recorded. Uh-oh. So he's gonna hear that. So anyway, we're gonna meet the last Thursday of every month. Tuesday, I'm sorry, Tuesday. And we're not meeting in December because I'm not meeting. And I think we have enough going on in December to, especially that last week of school, nobody really wants to see me.
Yep, I have everything on my calendar, so that's good.
Okay. And that's it. So anyway, what we were talking about last time we met was to do Emotional Poverty, which is a really good book. I mean, because I don't know about the other schools, but our school, the kids are a mess. I mean, they are just flying all over. From kindergarten, pre-K on. Yep. They really, there's always an issue. And I mean, it's all, they're falling apart. It's not even the educational thing. They're just emotionally, they're a mess. So Emotional Poverty, they hit on different ways of dealing with it. They also go through this, which we all took the class with the brain, and you know, this part is affected by this and that. So I really didn't really pay, you know, I was like, we all did that, whatever. And you know, and then you get people from different areas that come in and they don't really understand what's going on. Should we let Kelly in? Because their thing is a school is a big thing. Their thing is they're here to learn, but how do you expect people to learn if we're the last thing on their mind? Because a lot of them are just in survival mode. Yeah, we did the ACEs, what was it, like 3 years ago, and I just didn't like it. I think it hit too close to home for me. With the ACES, the test, I just was not, I had a hard time with it. It was just too close to home for a lot of reasons. So I was like, eh. But yeah, that test does help you. And like, if you gave it to these kids, you don't realize, I mean, I had a kid, I had something on Facebook the other day that actually I was home alone in tears. One of the mothers got on, was saying how great, you know, how her son's father won't deal with him and he blocked him when he reached out to him, and then the whole thing, she's going off and off and off. And then she turns around and just makes this announcement that, and I should have listened to my daughter when she told me that she was raped by this guy. And I was like, you just went on public forum and just announced to the whole world that this girl had this thing happen to her, and you want to know why she's not in school anymore? I mean, these kids, what they're dealing with at home, I can't even. And it's hard to even put yourself in that place sometimes. You just feel for them. So they're all a mess. Everyone's a mess. But yeah, it's survival mode. You want the kids to read. We're reading Dracula. These kids don't want to read Dracula. Most of them are like freaking out about going home and dealing with this, that, and everything else. So it's definitely a rough place to be right now.
What I liked about this book is it not only talks about the kids. As adults, we are all going through different things in our lives also. And it talked about strategies and things that help us put our emotions in one place to be able to help them with theirs. And I like that part of it. It was kind of based on both the adults and the children.
I look forward to reading it because I find that I bring a lot of my students' issues home with me.
Yes.
It's hard for me to just leave it at the door when I walk out of the building. So I'm still worried about, our school is a large poverty school as well. So much so that we have free lunch for the next 4 years because that's how low income we have and such poverty we have in our district. And we're only a school of 300 students and we're in a pre-K to 12 school. So we have a lot of kids that have a lot of nasty home life issues happening, and they bring it all to school. And then I feel like they don't talk to teachers, they talk to the LTAs, and they open up to us more than they do an instructional teacher, a direct teacher. I'm in the middle school, high school. And so I hear unheard of things. I'm like, how do you even know about this crap at this age? Like, I guess I lived a sheltered life. I was lucky, thank God. God bless that I didn't have to deal with it, but it's hard to leave your own emotional things that you're going through in your own family life at home,
Right.
stress and anxiety with paying bills and things like that, and then walking into the school and dealing with all our other, the kids that we adore, because that's why we do this, right? Otherwise we don't do it for money. So it's hard to walk out the door and then go, oh, they'll be fine, because I know what they're going home to. So that's a difficult thing for me. Does this book touch on that at all, and how to cope with that as the adult? Or, I mean, I know we have guidance counselors, but
it explains why they're acting like they are. And I find it harder to leave it at school than I am to bring it to, I can come to school and like kind of leave my stuff at home.
my own personal, right?
Right. But I come home with like bags load sometimes. I'm with the high school now, and oh my goodness, it's like you just like, and I think we were a lot lucky, when we had no cell phones and we weren't texting each other. And I mean, because that just adds to everything. Because unless you can catch that person in a hall or send them a note, you couldn't conversate with this kid. But now they're like constantly in touch, and they're just fueling every fire they have.
Yep.
It's rough.
Yep. I'm looking forward to reading it. Sounds like it's interesting.
And the guidance counselors, I mean, there's only so much they can do too. So, and a lot of these kids are a mess. They won't talk to you anyway. And you're right, they'll go to the LTA before, and they'll turn around and they'll say, oh, and then you're like, okay, so what do I have? Then you're trying to get down to see the counselors. The counselors are busy, and it's just, and writing is really not, sending an email really isn't the way to go.
Yeah, exactly. We have our building, like I said, we're a small school, 300 students, pre-K to 12, and we have 4 counselors and 2 that come in twice a week. So we have a total of 6 on hand. That's absurd. I mean,
And I bet they constantly.
My life, and they're overworked. I mean, they are, I mean, and God only knows how much baggage they bring home with them at night, that of stuff that we don't hear. But
Right,
when I think of myself as a student, well, I mean, I'm at a school many, 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 many years, but when I think of myself as a student, it's like, I don't, we had one counselor in a school and I was in a graduating class, just myself in 12th grade of 300 students. So, I mean, I grew up in the city and went to big city
Right.
schools, and to think that we have 6 counselors on hand
for 300 students.
for only 300 students, that's pretty scary, you know, when you think about the statistics of and the logistics behind all of it. And
I think a lot of it is also that you kept it. Like I mean, I didn't grow up in the best household, but I kept it at home. I didn't go into school because you kept your stuff at home. So you didn't go into school and start talking to your teacher or an aide, or you just kept it. Whereas now these kids are like, they
Yeah.
just, there's no secrets.
No, well, they're all like
I mean,
really closely linked.
they just, you know, in small town, everybody's related to everybody. So it's like there are no secrets anymore. And, you know,
that's true.
which is, I mean, I grew up in Queens, so I was in a big, you know, I had 888 kids graduate with me. So.
Even more than me.
So it was, you know, it was, and I didn't I think I met my counselor in when I was filling out my SATs maybe, or college application.
I never
mean,
talked to her
never-
unless I had, like
No.
unless it was imperative that we had to meet.
So yeah, it's a different world now. It's definitely, and there are no secrets. I mean, I had some conversations, and it wasn't even like bad conversations, like about camping trips. And what I found out about this kid's family, I was like dying. I was like, I saw the father, and I was like, boy, you better be really nice to me because I know it all, you know. And she was just blah 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 blah. I was like, oh my God, it was hysterical.
It's hard.
Wow.
Wow.
I guess we're quite fortunate at Milford.
You are to have that many. And I don't know how much of a part COVID played in this. I mean, because everyone's saying they're recovering from COVID. I don't know if they're recovering from COVID as much as they're recovering from what they're living with. I mean, you can only go bring COVID back, but you still knew this family was doing this, and you still knew this family was doing it. I mean, even before COVID was even a thought, you know.
I think COVID made it worse though, only because kids were in it 24/7 at that point, and they had no
That
safety.
is true. They had no, we weren't there.
Even the kids that would talk to you couldn't talk to you because who was in the room, you know,
Right.
and they couldn't vent to anybody. So that, I think it made it a lot worse for them. So coming back into school this year's not as bad, I don't think, but last year coming back into the full swing of things pretty much was an eye opener, because there was so much more that they were willing to talk about and wanted to talk about, because they lived it 24/7 and they had no reprieve.
And you would be Zooming with these kids and you hear which mother's screaming, and you're like, wow, you know.
Whose parents are walking around butt naked. Yep, we had a lot of that.
Didn't get that, I must say. I was very lucky.
A couple of those, and I'm in the middle high school. Like, hello.
I mean, there was a high school kids that would just sit, they would be in their pajamas in bed, and I was, you know. But I didn't get any naked people.
Yeah, we had
I did get a lot of screaming and yelling.
screaming and cursing and yelling.
Yeah, and cursing, yes.
And that was tough too, because it was how much of it is, as a mandated reporter, what do we report this? What do we do? How do I, you know, how do you go about it? Like, what is it, just anger, or is this like abusive?
The
You know,
way-
where's
I
the
mean-
crossing point, you know?
Or is this how they talk?
Yeah.
Which could be, you know. Janet, you're quiet today.
Yeah, I'm still recovering. All the germs with no masks.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're having kids coming in and out on that floor like they're in one day, out the next day, and yeah.
Well, when you get thrown up on, covered, that doesn't help.
Oh, I had that. That got me 4 days out of work one year because one of the seniors, and she was in first grade, threw up on me. I brought that up to her the other day. She was like, I was like, do you remember when? And she's like, no.
I get to be a human snot rag for my littles. That's fun.
Mhm.
Yeah, I hand out tissues all morning long while I'm down there.
Oh, back to the book. One other thing that helped me stop and think about again and realize that just because we're perceiving this person's behavior in a certain way and thinking that it's coming from one thing, it necessarily doesn't mean it's what we think. They have a totally different thought process than we do. And it could be coming from a totally different realm than we even thought possible. So I like that it reminded me to stop and think and ask questions.
Instead of just accept it and say, and feel that it's not the way you feel it should be done, so therefore there's a problem with it. And it's
Right,
the way that person, those kids are raised or whatever.
right, that they're seeing it from a different angle than we are.
I think I'm late to the game. What book are we talking about?
Emotional poverty. Oh, you weren't here last week.
Yeah, I wasn't. Sorry.
You had this issue of being homeless. Oh, well.
Is it? Yeah, I was busy being
It's a
homeless.
small home.
Is it an online book or is it a hard copy? What is it?
Erin put a link in the chat, so you can fill out the Google form and request the book.
And one of you recopy the link for us though, because it's gone. When I had it kicked out, it's not in the chat anymore for us.
It's not in the
So
chat.
it is an online book?
No, it's a hard
Oh.
copy that he'll send you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, if someone could copy that link again, that'd be really helpful. Thank you.
I will tell him to send the link.
Hmm.
I tried getting it through the school library to get a couple of copies and they can't find it.
Yeah, I'm trying to copy the link to resend it and it's not letting me do it. It's copying everything.
Oh. I don't even see it in my chat.
Thanks, ladies. Maybe I'll just email Aaron and Kelly, maybe you could just email Aaron and he'll send us the link. Because I don't have the copy either.
I don't see it on my chat at all. I mean, it play, and I actually went to the administrator because I figured I might as well bust some chops, and they had this thing about like when the student gets to the point that it's suspension time. I was like, and he's a new principal and he's new to our building. So I had one principal that would only do lunch detention. That was her thing, lunch. She did not believe in regular detention. I mean, detention. Then we had another principal that would only do out of school detention. So I was kind of wondering which way he would go, and he goes, he would prefer to have them in school. So then I went to a teacher that has his administration degree, but is not an administrator. So I was like, if you could make this, what would you do? And he's all for out of school suspensions, just for the simple reason it's annoying the parents more than the kids. So that was one of the things that the book brings up about letting them stay home and not letting them stay home. Personally, you got the kids that are always in school suspension, ISS, and I got a third grader that turned around and said, he's like, guess what? I'm going to 211 tomorrow. And I'm like, but that's not a good thing. He goes, oh, it's not too bad. So, I mean, I don't think it really phases most of those kids. They come in, they sit there, they do what they want, they take a nap. I mean,
Well,
you
look
really
at the,
can't-
what is it, the 7th or 8th graders this year?
for what?
So let's see, I was in 4th, so I was 6th. This year's 7th graders.
You want them back? No.
Obviously, not having consequences has not done that class any good at all. If that's the class, is it 7th or 8th this year?
This year that's giving the heart. No, we're having a
It's the
bunch
ones
of.
I started out with in 4th grade.
So that would,
So that was 3 years ago. So they should be in 7th grade now. Yes, they're in 7th.
yeah, but those kids have been coming to 211 since 5th grade.
Yeah, because there were no consequences when they were in 4th grade, no consequences at all. So, hey, let's
Yeah,
go
but now I have a third grader that's like, he's there weekly. I have a third grader that's there every week. And he's like, it's no big deal. So I really don't know what would work for them. Some of them, it just doesn't matter.
How do you get administrators to listen to your concerns about discipline? I mean, I think we all have similar concerns, but how do we transfer that message to the administrators that are in charge of discipline and how things go?
I have to say, we have a new administrator that actually will listen to us when we talk. And I think at this point, some of these kids, they really don't care. So he said, keeps them home. He sent some home. No big deal. They're in for a couple of days and they get in trouble again. I think he's doing the best he can at this point with what he's dealing with. But a lot of these kids, they don't care. You can do in school, you can do out of school, and 2 weeks later, they're back in trouble again.
But again, part of that stems from their home lives, and just because there's repercussion in school doesn't mean that their parents at home care. So even the kid that's getting suspended, if they have a parent that doesn't care, they're not feeling like, oh, I can't do that because, my parents are going to get upset.
Right.
Who cares? Their parents are barely there, or their parents are laying on the couch doing drugs or whatever, whatever the situation is, some of them that they're actually dealing with. So we're actually fortunate in our building too. We have 2 new administrators, a new superintendent and a new principal this school year. And so far the principal's been extremely visible to our students all. And again, we're pre-K to 12, and he is in the hallways pretty much all day long. And he is popping into classrooms just randomly, checking, walking around for a minute or 2, and then moves on for the day. Or if there's an incident with a student, he'll take the kid onto the track and walk and talk and come back in. And, we had one of my students was suspended for 2 days, Friday and Monday, for an incident in school. And he came up today and found him, was trying to find him between classes, grabbed him between classes, and just like, I want you to know, I'm glad you're back in school. you had to have consequences. What did you learn? I heard the whole conversation. What did you learn, from doing what you did? And, what do you think you should have done better and not have done? And so I think we're pretty fortunate because he's
That's pretty good.
pretty out there and in their eye, and they like him because he's seen. So I think that makes a
Right.
difference for them too.
And our new principal made sure he went to all, I don't know, downstairs, but upstairs, he came to all the classes and talked to them. He went to every English class and made sure he touched, and he does come up at where he knows there are some issues and, just checks things out and everything. But unfortunately, I guess he hasn't been with kids too often because he's homesick for the past 3 days. So hopefully he'll be back soon. So.
But you have the other side of that too. I had a parent, I went to the grocery store after work and I'm not even out of my car. And this parent is running up to my car in the parking lot, just livid. I just got off the phone with your principal. My son's got detention tomorrow because he was late to class 3 times in a row. Are you kidding me? Are you serious? With all the things that we have going on in our lives, being late it was homeroom. She was getting him late to school every day. It's my fault, not his, and he's taking the fall. And something is as minimal as this when I'm trying to fight to keep this kid on the straight and narrow, and there's so many other things in life and blah, 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 blah. Like, okay, well, I'm just trying to get dinner, but okay. It's hard because we have not had discipline in our building in many years.
Yes, yes.
And this man has come in and he's trying. He had to start from somewhere. I get being 3 minutes late to school every day is not a big deal in certain aspects, but it is when you get a job, you can't be late. And we have to start somewhere. The dress code would be nice, but we have to start somewhere with following the rules. And these parents are excusing their kids, not my kid, it's my fault, not theirs. Come on, make your kid accountable. They have to be accountable for their actions. This is when they learn it.
Well, like last year or the year before, they would tell me, you can write me up because you're the one that's going to be sent to the office, not me.
I've experienced that where I was called a liar, that I made the whole thing up because it was 2 children from prominent families in our area. One family member was on the board. I don't care. What your kid did was wrong. Nope, I was a liar. I got called in the office on it. It makes it twice as hard to ever want to do it again, I can tell you that. My family was attacked on Facebook over the incident. I was attacked and called a liar. I just can't. Then that makes discipline very, very hard for us when there's no backing higher above.
Mhm.
And these kids knew that I got called in. They knew that I was being told that I lied. So do you think those kids had any respect for me ever again after that? Nope. I was labeled on Facebook as Stanford's #1 bitch for 3 months running. I was kind of proud of it, but you know. It's just a whole tough scenario all the way around. You feel for the kids and then you have to deal with the parents.
Well, I mean,
When did we see this change of parents and unfortunately oftentimes administration believing the kids over us or the teachers? When did that happen and why?
Oh Lord, this was many years ago. This was 10 years ago, maybe. It was because administration did not want to deal with it. We had an administrator that was afraid of the parents.
No way.
Yeah, so rather than her being in the hot seat, we got put in the hot seat. So then she didn't have to deal with it. Yeah, it was a fun time.
No idea who you're talking about.
Yeah, you wouldn't have a clue. Mhm. Mhm. And that's what I said. We've been in this situation for many years where there's been no solid, consistent discipline.
No,
And it's sad that schools have turned into a business, not an educational building. It's a business. It's all about money. It's sad. It's not about the kids anymore. It really isn't. Did you see, Paula, that Jeanette got the link back on there?
yes, I saw it.
Thank you, Jeanette. I'm not good with computers.
Parents are the first problem, I'll give you that.
Mhm.
You have the
Now it's
parent.
like when there's an issue, I go in and I say, so what's the story? Because you find out this one doesn't have a mother, this one's, there's just so much
Mhm.
going on with these kids that you feel for them, but then at what point do you say, okay, but guess what? Life goes on.
Mhm.
And they're starting.
Unfortunately, there's self-preservation too. I mean, yeah, you feel for these kids, but how much are you going to put yourself out there knowing that one, you're not going to accomplish anything, and two, you may get backlash from parents or administration. So where's the incentive for us to completely or to continually put ourselves out there?
Good question.
I'm not hearing the answers pour in, guys.
I guess there's always that hope that you'll get through to one kid. Then it makes it a little bit worth it.
I don't know, because I mean, when I was downstairs, it was a lot easier to deal with the kids. They kind of, I mean, in primary, they trust you. And working with, and they got me with seniors, and you really had to prove yourself to them. I mean, they're not believing you or trusting you until you prove that you are.
Mhm.
And you gotta have kids actually vouch that, yeah, she's okay, you can trust her, because they really don't. And these seniors are, wow.
It's a tough situation too. Oh, they do, absolutely. Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. But with the high school kids too, you got to be very careful today. They can say anything they want to say, and it's your word against theirs. And that is scary.
Absolutely. I'm in the high school special ed, and recently, since last year, we've been dealing with a senior that that's on probation, and things that need to be documented and are happening in the school that would go against his probationary direction are just kind of getting ignored by administration and just kind of overlooked, whereas it's kind of like it's not my responsibility type of thing, and it really is like, no, that's the coach's job to tell the probation officer. No, that's the coach's job to tell the principal to tell the probation officer. So it's been a big challenge. I'm open for any suggestions.
document, do anything that you can do that's your responsibility, and document, this is where it went.
I mean, we had a kid on pins, and every time he gets close to, he does something so stupid that he goes right back on pins. The kid is the sweetest kid going, but oh my goodness, when he decides he wants to be difficult, oh, it's so much fun. And I mean, there's so much, I mean, he has so many strikes against him. He's a brilliant kid, and he's surviving. He really is. And it's sad that, they're so young and they're in survival mode.
Mhm.
We had that 4-day weekend for Columbus Day weekend because we had the professional day. And they were saying, oh, we're all, we got 4 days. And I was like, I want 4 days. One student turned around, she goes, I'll come in for you. She goes, I don't want to be in my house for 4 days. I hate the weekends. And I was like, do you think that they could tell us apart? And she started laughing about that, but she did not. She was like, I do not want to be. And when the vacations come, she's like, I don't want to be home. I hate the weekends. And you can't, and meanwhile, the other kids are like, yay, we're out of this place. And,
Mhm.
on Facebook, they're saying it's sad that you're May tired already. And I'm going to be honest with you, I feel May tired. I don't feel October tired. I feel May. I already feel like it's, I'm done for the year.
Mhm. Yep. No, you spelled it right. Nice job. No red marks there. Yeah, we have in elementary, we have kids that do the same thing. Half their lunches every day go in their cubbies to rot because they don't want to get rid of it. They want to take it all home. They don't understand that you can't leave milk in your backpack for 6 hours and then an hour bus ride. And
Oh, even in the summer from camp, yeah, that was an issue.
mm-hmm.
You guys have backpack programs in your school?
We do, yes. But
But
our
some,
parents stepped out of it too, I heard. Like,
they did. Ones that really could really use it refused it.
I have a student like that I had in sped, and the family was super poor. The kid was autistic and just the nicest kid, but he just needed clothes and he needed to shower and he needed a bath every day because he never was clean. And it was because their cats pooped in the tub. That's where they kept the cat's litter box, and he wouldn't go in it because of the cat's poop. And I'm like, then clean the litter out. And it was a whole to do, and CPS found no findings. And I'm like, the kid is living in filth, literally living in filth. So he showered with me every other day, and I bought him clothes and sneakers. And I'd brought in for a couple of days my husband, who's the same size as my husband. I mean, the kid was a big dude, and brought him in some gently used sweatpants and pair of sneakers. And he went home with them and got in trouble for having new clothes. And then we bought him a new pair of sneakers, figured, okay, well, because it's used, they didn't want him to have used clothes, right? Because why else would they be upset that somebody's helping him? So myself and the teacher in the room bought him he was a size 12D, whatever.
wow.
So we bought him these $80 shoes, and we would make him wear them because the shoes he had were broken. Literally, the soles were ripped off the bottom. I had to keep hot gluing them to try to keep them together for him. And regular crazy glue wasn't working. So he would come to school with his ripped open toe sticking out, literally, and soles broken on the other foot. And we would make him put his good shoes on and then change it before he went home. And he forgot one day, and it was a whole to do. School got called and you're interfering. And I'm like, your kid is walking around with his toe hanging out of the shoe and his other foot is literally hitting the pavement. And Why wouldn't you just take the sneakers? Like, what is the big deal? And it was a problem. And not to mention that we were still showering him every other day. We had toiletries at school for him and everything. So a whole 40 minutes a day, he would literally go into the shower and just wash his body and stand in the shower. And one day I said, why are you taking so long? Hurry up, you gotta hurry up, we gotta get back to class. And he's like, I love it. I just love being in the shower. I'm like, yeah, because you never get to freaking shower at home like a normal person. Just sad, just so sad. And it continues, and he's now in 10th grade. Sad.
Mhm.
The now 6th graders, when they were in 2nd grade, I have to say they were the dirtiest group I ever met. They were just always dirty. And we had one kid, he was hysterical because he would say, I take a bath every Sunday, no matter what. And he was very proud of that fact. And we were like, good job. Then we would say, Facebook says National Bath Day. Everybody has to go home and take a bath tonight and, make a joke out of it. But oh my goodness, it was like, and I get it with that kid for a simple reason. It's older parents and everything. But wow, they were like, he was so proud of the fact he's bathed once a week. I was like, I guess that, if that's what you're used to doing, I guess they don't see, and you notice it mostly around like when spring comes with the spring sports with the little kids, and they're outside and they play softball and everything, and you got the lines of dirt coming down their arms,
Mhm.
Yeah, that's how this kid wasn't that he was in sports or anything. He was sit in front of an electronic kid, but he just was always dirty. And he had an odor. So the kids in the class would complain about it. And I was like, well, what do we do? So it was, let's shower him. And so we did that, but they're the same family that there's 5 kids in the family and they won't accept the backpack program either. It's crazy. So there's only so much we can do, ladies. We just do our best. Engines.
Yep.
And then you're up all night worrying about everybody else, but
Yep. That's why I say it's hard to leave it at the door when you leave that building. It comes with me. And my kids, I have 4 children. And so we get in the car to leave school and they're like, Mom, boo. I'm like, wait, I just need just 5 minutes. Just don't talk to me.
Don't talk.
For 5 minutes. I love you all. And I will listen to what you have to say to me. But for 5 minutes while we're coming down the driveway until we get to that light, I need you to just don't talk because I have to try to decompress just a little bit before I can listen to now your problems that happened in school today with A, B, and C. So yeah, it's hard. It's just hard to do. Or my kids, sometimes 3 of my kids are now high schoolers and my younger one's in 5th grade, and they'll go, don't talk to Mom. Remember today, you know what happened in school today? Because they all know, such a small community. Everybody knows everybody's business. You know what happened in school today, and that's Mom's student. And I'm like, oh God. Like, yes, just give me 5 minutes to decompress and then my one daughter who's 15, she'll say, yeah, because it's coming home with us. I'm like, yep, it is, because as much as I love you, you're mine. I know you're safe, and I don't know that they are. So it's hard. So now they've also started to worry about their peers because they see our home life is so different from their peers, some of them.
We had,
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
sorry, we had one student that him and his siblings were, I'm talking sickening, abused. The things that were done to these children, I still to this day tear up over what happened to these children. And you say small community, the kids knew what was happening to these children. And this poor child had a medical condition. He had an anal leakage issue that the smell was ungodly. And it was never taken care of, obviously. The kids knew enough about this child's life. They never made fun of him. They never acknowledged it. They just treated him like everybody else. And it just was heartwarming to see there was compassion. And we had an administrator that out of his own pocket would buy this child packages of underwear and clothing and take him to shower every day, and he paid for everything. This man was phenomenal with these children, and they got rid of him. And it just broke my heart because then that whole family fell apart again. This kid finally had somebody, and then he was gone. It just, you get that little high, and then it's taken right out from underneath you again. It just, and you got to pick it up and dust it off and keep going. And 18 years I've been picking it up, dusting it off, and keep going. And I'm exhausted. I'm exhausted. My husband and I have conversations of what would we do if we won the lottery? I said, I would buy the biggest house I could find and I would fill it with these children. And he'd laugh and go, and pay for a divorce. He said, yeah, probably. It just, I know what you're saying. It's just sad. But we're all good people and we all have big hearts and we do make a difference.
Let me jump on that, Janet.
Yes, dear.
My mom came from a terrible, terrible background, verbally and physically abusive, alcoholic parents. Her father could not read or write. He was amazing at math. He built houses. He was amazing at that. But they were deep South people, no education. I'd like to say they just didn't know any better. They were both orphans. It was a terrible upbringing. She was the oldest of four. They would go to the dump to find her clothes. But she always persevered, and she had some really great friends. But just recently, she was able to reconnect with one of her high school, I guess, mentors, for lack of a better word. She was a gym teacher, and she was just always very understanding and a very kind woman that went out of her way to make my mom feel comfortable, secure, safe. And this woman, it stuck with my mom. You know, my mom is 72. So she just turned 72. And this past high school teacher of hers has remained a friend all these years because she made a difference in school. So there is hope that you can get through to a few here and there.
And we've got to teach them
Not
to
all
be
of them.
resilient, right? That's part of what it is learning to be resilient within their own lives. And they do that with our love and affection, because I think that's what we do more than anything else, being LTAs.
And they know.
And they
when
know
you're
that.
on, and they know when you mean it, and they know when you
Right.
just, they do know the difference.
I have 15 kids come to my room at the end of the day and go, Miss Levinson, can I have a snack before we leave? I'm like, yep, go in the drawer. And it's the same 15 kids, because they know that they're going to go home and they're not going to have food, and can I have more than one? Yep. Take whatever you need, drinks and everything. Oh, you have Gatorade? Yep. I have Gatorade. Grab one out of the fridge. So, I mean, they know that we're there to love them and care for them. And if they're not getting it home, at least they're getting it from us, the 7 hours a day that we're with them. So stay strong, everybody. Don't give up, Janet. You need another 18 years on.
You got it.
Janet's not going anywhere. No.
We all know she's not. She just wants to complain a little bit. Okay. We're resilient too. We have to learn to be resilient because of what we have to cope with.
Me too.
Sometimes it's coping with Janet,
But you got to share it with us, Janet.
All right. I can do that.
Or at least take some of my kids to live in the house too, because I got a lot on my list too.
There you go.
Hey, I'm sorry, I just saw somebody's notification about the backpack program in Oxford. South Courtright does it through the Rotary Club, I believe, right? Not through the school itself. So that might be an option to reach out to the local Rotary Club.
And some of them do it through food, some schools do it through the food bank, the local food bank.
Thanks. I'll have to double check. I know that for a while, our FFA students were the ones through their leadership class were the ones that were putting everything together, but the supplies ran out from whichever source they came from. I know one of you mentioned that, you know, there are families that turned it down. We had a group of students that, I mean, I'm in the high school, but they would get called down to go get their bag for the weekend. And that was like a big turnoff for them because they were embarrassed because other students knew that that was what they were going for. Not that they couldn't use the food and not that they wouldn't eat every single bit of the food that was provided for them. So if there's an alternative way for you guys to, you know, have the students pick up the food or that kind of thing, that might work too,
We
to
have,
get some more families involved.
that's a good observation because we have, our school decided to stop calling kids down to get the backpacks. The ones that are walkers that live pretty close, we have, it's called the Commons, where the old school building used to be, is actually apartments at the bottom of our hill. So there's a couple of families that live there. They go at 3:10. They wait at school or go wherever until 3:10. They grab their backpacks from the guidance counselor's office. The other students who are actually bus riders, the backpacks are on the bus for them with their tag names on them. As they get off, they grab it on the way out. So it's in the front seat and they just grab and go so that nobody knows any different.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
Oh, I like that because we don't even have backpacks anymore. No, the backpacks were destroyed, didn't come back. They were
They
disgusting.
stopped it because
Yeah.
because of COVID. They didn't want to bring it back and forth from the house to the school, to the house to the school. So that's why they started with plastic bags.
Yeah,
Right.
we did that during the COVID, when we were sending home to food to students, but we went back to the backpacks with rolling, you know, they're rolling things. And we actually had our MEF fund, Milford Education Fund, which is funded by community as well as teachers, that we do throughout the school year. And we paid for the backpacks for the program through the MEF fund so that they would have extras for when they don't return or if they break or what have you. But it's just so that it's,
I don't even think it's it's a thing with because I mean, I never heard a comment about the food being sent. And I had one kid, the father, when the parents decided they didn't want to be parents anymore, and he was what, a sophomore at the time, and he turned around and he would come down every Friday and say, I need that backpack. I have 4 siblings I have to feed. And he made sure he did not walk out of that building without that backpack. He says, because I only have $20 and that's not going to feed them for the weekend. So,
you to have them.
yeah.
Ladies, I need to run only because I have to
Yes.
get my daughter to her chorus practice and I got to get a cross-oniana for that. So it's been lovely chatting.
Yes,
Thank
it
you.
has been. And hopefully you'll all have the books and we will see each other on the 28th, no, the 29th of November.
It's on my calendar. See you then.
Okay. Okay, see you then. Thank you for
Bye.
coming.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Tomorrow, see you tomorrow.
That's it.
That's it. Well, you
Hey,
want,
have a really good night.
you
You
too.
too.
Bye.
Bye, ladies.
Bye.